Welcome, everybody, to episode 14 of the Under 1 Million podcast, the podcast based off of the Deserving playlist series on Spotify. I am here with my guest. He has been placed on this list with his record Talk My Shit, which is now a 3 seed in the Deserving Madness tournament. He's he's ready to go, ready to win this thing. Go ahead and take it away, my man.
Let's do it. What's going on? My name's K Hella. It's most people know me as he said, rap, Spotify, Apple Music, all platforms. Where do I even begin, man? I mean, shoot, I think I submitted to your Submit Hub playlist thing, right? Is that how this all got started?
No, I don't. I actually don't use Submit Hub, which maybe I should, but I just don't want anybody paying anything to get it on the list or anything like that. But I might have reached out to you. You might have found me through somebody. I really don't know, to be honest. I
Yeah,
talked to so
dude.
many artists.
Yeah, it was organic, that's for sure. But yeah, bottom line, let's see. Been making music for a while now, so it's cool to just be able to meet like minds together, chop it up, see what's going on.
Absolutely, man. I enjoy that too. That's kind of why I started this thing. You know what I mean? I would always find so much music that would fall in love with, and I was like, how do I actually find out more about these artists? Because it's kind of hard, you know what I mean, for up and comers. There's not a lot out there, so that's why we're here. But how have you been doing, man? How's the pandemic been treating you and all that good stuff?
Pretty good overall. It's a long story. We'll get into more details later, but I've been stuck at home. Like, some people aren't as remote, I would say, because I work in this room. I make music in this room. I game in this room. I chill in this room. So at times I need to go outside. So it can be a little overwhelming. I think most of us have experienced that. But overall, considering the circumstances, I don't think I could be much better.
I'm in the same boat. I say, especially we're kind of approaching a point where you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel here. Things
Yeah.
are getting back to normal. You know what I mean? Vaccines rolling out, all that shit. Uh, are you gonna get the vaccine for one? Let's just get this political bullshit out of the way. Are you gonna get it?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, yeah.
I'm not an anti-vaxxer, bro. So it's like I have no strong opinions there. I'm one of those people that challenges ideas for sure. So I read about it and was like, I don't know. I mean, I get the flu vaccine. My family is gonna get it. I don't want to be the odd man out. That's kind of where I stand. So I'm pretty sure I'll have it, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Where are you from? By the way, I don't think it's
Sacramento.
Sacramento.
Yep.
All right, so you were over there in Cali where you got hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot about California, but I've heard mixed stories. I've heard that it's really not that bad as a lot of people are making it out to be. I've also heard that literally everything was shut down and like it's like a shit show over there. So what is it from your perspective in Sacramento?
It's hard to say because I don't have contrast for like the rest of the country. It wasn't that shut down. I mean, like worst case is okay. Well, let me think of this on a wide spectrum. A lot of businesses did shut down, and actually like smaller businesses certainly closed. So Sacramento was definitely impacted. But as far as like my perspective, I saw so many businesses letting you dine in anyways, look the other way, and people not wearing masks. So like on paper it was shut down, but people were still doing what they wanted. Lots of bars would still let you like pick up alcohol and stuff. So I would say like there's a reason why when it all started we were very, very low, and then suddenly it was like one weekend everyone just decided to go turn up, and then we were like top 10 in the country after that weekend. So yeah, it happened really quick, but overall it's like the immediate impact wasn't that huge. Like you can go to the grocery store, everyone's got their mask on, fully functional, but when you start going downtown, it's kind of a madhouse. At least that's my perspective.
Yeah, similar stuff here for sure. I'm in South Florida, so we're definitely one of those states that get a lot of flack for
Yeah,
basically pretending like this thing didn't really happen. But it's not really like that. It's just like you said, you know what I mean? People are out, they're wearing their masks, being safe. Some businesses are following whatever protocol, whatever you want to call it. Some businesses aren't. Whatever. Let's just get through this and let's end it all. Uh, have you always lived in Sacramento, or why Sacramento if you have not?
yeah, born and raised. I lived in Elk Grove and like surrounding areas, and now I'm like right on literally my street is the border between Elk Grove, which is a suburb, and Sacramento. And as far as like the downtown heart of Sacramento, I'm like four freeway exits away. So It's just where I've been my whole life. I haven't really had a reason to go anywhere else. So that's about it.
I feel you, man. That's again, comparing it to South Florida, same thing here. Born and raised. I don't want to go anywhere else. The weather is fucking great.
Exactly.
You know, why would I move? But let's get into more music based stuff. I want to just kind of get a basis of, you know, where your whole sound came from, because I have my idea in my head of certain artists you might pull from and stuff like that, but I want to hear from you and see if I'm right.
For sure. Yeah, let's dive into it. So, do you want me to just say, or do you want to guess first, or how do you want to do it?
Well, I have one particular artist in mind, and it's you've mentioned him in your music at least one time I heard, if not multiple times, but Lil Wayne. I think you pull a lot from Lil Wayne, especially with certain flows that you use at times. It's just very Lil Wayne esque. So, am I on point with that one?
Yeah, I would say like on any given day, I would name him as the best rapper dead or alive. I don't know if I like intentionally pull from him, but for sure, as far as being able to like convey a message, but also have the craziest bars, or even not convey a message and just have the simplest thing still be a bar, that's what I want to accomplish. Like if you've noticed on a lot of my stuff, I try and dumb it down because I grew up listening to like Army of the Pharaohs, underground stuff. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
like I was one of those kids that was like, Lil Wayne's trash. He's not even lyrical. And then I really sat and listened to him when I was like 14, and it just changed my whole opinion of hip hop. So yeah, I think like he's embedded at the bottom of what I like my sound, if anything. Because like you said, you caught it, but a lot of people will pick up on that. I think it's more so like the fun punchline stuff that probably resembles him more than anything else.
And that's kind of what I meant. The flows, I mean, Lil Wayne uses all types of flows. I don't even know if he's
Yeah,
just kind
yeah.
of all over the place. But it was the wordplay really that stuck out to me for you. Um, it's just that's definitely what I was going for there. And I actually had a conversation on my last episode with TG about Lil Wayne, because I always have this discussion with a lot of people. Like you said, I place Lil Wayne in my top five, if not, like you said, the greatest to ever do it. But I always get a lot of pushback from that, at least locally, and I don't really understand why. So, what would you say to somebody that said, like, no way, Lil Wayne's not even in top 10? You know, I mean, push him out.
It's hard to say because I like going a lot deeper. One of the closest friends of mine who like I look at their opinion like a holy grail at one point when I was younger. He didn't like Lil Wayne at all. He wouldn't listen to any Lil Wayne. He thought he was trash. But then he'll say like Nas, Big L, Jay-Z, you know, those are the real goats, Tupac and stuff like that. But in my mind, every era of hip hop has had like a different level of playfulness, and then there's bars, you know, like it doesn't matter if you go way back to Sugar Hill Gang, they were very profane in some ways, and then they're like simple dumbed down radio hit. But then you get into the more complex people, you know, Nas obviously multi-syllable rhymes. That's who a lot of people, when I say Lil Wayne, they're like, what about Nas, what about Jay-Z? So I think it's hard to say. It depends on what your metrics are for rap, because it's like for me, like I said, Lil Wayne does it all. He has hit songs. They're like party songs, but he manages to squeeze crazy punchlines in a party song. To me, not many people can do that, and I think that skill alone is going to make someone top tier.
He does definitely stay on topic, but somehow talks about everything all at the same time. If that makes any sense,
Yeah,
that's a good point. But like, what are your metrics? Like, is it just kind of looking for the overall thing?
yeah. So it's hard to say. I think I'm gonna play with the fact that you said Lil Wayne is like an influence, right? When I was younger and I listened to a lot of battle rap, that was like my first like diving deep. I hear, you know, every form of figurative language, bars and all that shit. And I'm like, how am I ever gonna pull this off? I can't do that. And then Lil Wayne makes it seem obtainable. So to me, it's like being able to showcase lyricism, but still put it in, package it in a way that people can digest it, you know? Like I always go to Swimming Pools by Kendrick Lamar as being one of the best rap songs of all time, in my opinion, because it's a very deep meaning song. You can also party to it, and he has bars. It's like if I was to say like what my metrics would be, it would be whatever he did in that song. Cause it's like You know, it's like a whole package, like flow, delivery, bars. It's not too far in to where it's like you're gonna scare away the casual listeners, but the
Right.
people who really love hip hop are still gonna be like, "Whoa, this is nuts!" Like that's what I go for ultimately.
Yeah, because he still has that like melodic style on swimming pools too, and I think that's really what attracts the mainstream listener is if you can, blend the where hip hop came from or the roots of hip hop with this new melodic style that pretty much everybody does, which is what it is. I love it now. I was very iffy when melodic rap started coming around. I did not like it and I didn't want to accept it, but once I did,
Yeah.
my life was much better and much easier.
Yeah, and you know, I think another thing too is when you ask what like the metrics are or whatever, I would look at a song and be like, what's gonna make a hip hop head not like this? You know, and a lot of times it is like Juice World. The reason they don't like it isn't necessarily because he's melodic, it's because he's melodic and doesn't necessarily have bars. Although in his
Yeah.
freestyles, Juice World was like one of the best freestylers. I'm sure you've seen some videos that full had gas, but like, you know, to the hip hop head, they're gonna be like, well, this isn't like 16 bars of metaphors and
Yeah.
so it all depends, but yeah, to me it's that whole overall package.
Yeah, for sure. I always wondered why Juice World didn't put more of that style when he freestyled into his music because I thought that would have brought, at least like you said, some of those hip hop heads into his fan base. But
Yeah, I feel
whatever.
like he just needed more time, you know, because like
Yeah,
think of how Travis Scott put Coffee Bean on his album at the end, and that was like a boom bap type beat or hip hop. Like most of my friends who don't like Travis Scott heard that and were like, yo, this shit is dope because they like hip hop. And I'm like, if Juice WRLD would have put out one song like that, all the hip hop heads would have started messing with him probably.
yeah, absolutely. Kind of coming back to where we were at with the core of your sound, but you did mention battle rap there for a little bit, and that's kind of I've always put Lil Wayne in that bracket to where if he ventured into battle rap, he would have been uh, unbeatable probably
Yeah, probably.
because of that wordplay. What's your go-to battle rap league to watch?
Dude, I haven't watched in so long. Like it used to be URL for a minute just because I feel like, you know, like a lot of people will bounce between leagues. So, you know, you'll see the rappers in all different stuff. I couldn't really I would say URL or whichever league it was that Daylight was in all the time. I don't think that was Grind Time. Maybe it was, but I just used to
He
like his battles.
Yeah, he did some URL. I don't know if he ever ventured into grind time or not, but definitely URL. I've seen a lot of his URL battles.
Yeah,
It-
that was my favorite for sure.
It's funny because I was never a fan of Daylight. Like I just thought he was super corny with all
Yeah,
the antics that he would pull when he showed up in that Spawn like costume or whatever. It's like, all right, man,
yeah.
you're doing way
Or
too
there's
much.
like there's the one that's not PC at all when he like literally pulled out his private parts while he was battling a woman. I don't know if you heard of that one, but yeah, I
Yeah,
can see what you're saying. I didn't really get too huge into him until it was like last year or something. He came back and did some battle and just slaughtered the other dude. And that was when I was like, oh, this was like actually good. I think he's just been trolling us the whole time because his whole personality to begin with is a troll, anyways.
it really is. I've heard him do really well too in battles, and don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
He definitely has it. I think he just pushes too much, man. He's trying to do too much. It's like kind of like the battle rap version of clout chasing. You know what I mean? With all these internet goons out here, but he just does way too much. If he would just stick to writing his bars and delivering them the way he knows he can, I think I wouldn't think that of him. But I don't know, whatever it is.
for
But
sure.
what do you think of King of the Dot? Because I've always been a huge King of the Dot fan.
Like let me see because I would have to see who was in more recent because I know I've watched a lot of their battles too. It's just been so long since I was tuned into that scene fully. Like that goes back to the very beginning to kind of tie it into myself. I started typing like there was a website called Let's Beef. It was really a text battle site, and you would like type a 8 bar verse at the other person. That
Yeah.
was like what I started with before I did any other type of rap. So that was when I was watching it all. I definitely like there's some great battles on King of the Dot as well. I just can't reference any off the top of my head, but I know I've watched hella on URL. That's why I went to that one.
For
But
sure.
I know also that like Drake for a while was sponsoring King of the Dot and like kind of throwing money into it. And so I thought that was cool. He was like supporting the culture in that way.
I think that's why I liked it so much, is because it just seemed further along than, you know, other battle rap leagues. It just more, the presentation was better. They were more consistent. They, you know, just something about it that I enjoyed. But um, I gotta ask you, because I know, getting away from battle rap, I know you kind of have a wide variety of music that you've listened to and even dabbled in making, I think. But like, so what actually brought you into hip hop as your, you know, artistic choice to as a creator?
Yeah, so let's see. It's got to be like two parts. One is my sister had the room next to me. She would always blare music from when I was like 5 to like probably 13, 14. So I heard she went through every phase. She was like the stereotypical, didn't tie to one genre. She went through a hip hop phase, a emo phase, a rock phase, alternative pop, you know. So like, I don't know, something, I think what happened was when she stopped listening to rap, she gave me all her CDs and I just kept listening to them, listening to them. And then in middle school, I was like, kind of a little emotional kid, you know, transitioning, couldn't grasp it. So I got into poetry. And then I realized, like, being a poet, it's kind of hard to get girls. So I think I should try rapping. And then, like, I start messing around with writing raps. And then, like, there was some little hot Cheeto beat maker on the internet. And I'm like trying to put these beats together and rap. And I don't know, it just felt like I didn't even try anything else, to tell you the truth. It just happened and it felt like this is where I belong. So I didn't second guess it. I just kept at it. Like, I wasn't dedicated until after I graduated, but I had dabbled in writing songs and beats the whole middle school, high school, everything. It was almost like it became my therapy, and I could recognize that right away. So once I was more mature, quote unquote, by the age of 18, I was like, yeah, this is definitely for me.
I had a similar experience in how I got into hip hop too. When you say you were just kind of writing for therapy, was that all you did, was just write and, you know, do stuff on your own, or did, and not really tell anybody, or was that just kind of something you did as a hobby and people knew about it?
So by the end of high school, everyone knew, and I kind of like, that's the only quote unquote regret I have, is that I wish I would have put out a mixtape, because even if it wasn't good, I had like my whole school behind me by that time. Because there's in freshman year, one of my friends like told everyone that I rapped, and I wasn't even that good yet. But like this, imagine like a big like husky senior comes up, he's like, "Hey, I want to battle you. I heard you rap," and I don't even like really rap at this point, and I battled him anyways and I did okay, like enough for everyone to start looking at me as a rapper. But as far as like my craft and music that I worked on, I didn't put anything out. And then around like junior year, I made something for fun. I literally recorded it with a rock band mic. Like it wasn't good quality, but people circulated it around and they were telling me like, "You're so good, you got to pursue this." And it wasn't until after high school that I actually gained the confidence to really put stuff out. Like I didn't actually put a single out until 2016, and I was already out of school for 2 years. So
Again, man, I feel like I'm talking to myself. I record the same shit. That was how I recorded my first record. Well, not my first record. My first record was on one of those like wand mics, those like little stick
oh
microphones, bro.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That type of
That's
shit.
funny.
But yeah, when I you know, I upped my game to the rock band microphone from there, and then it was smooth sailing. But
That's crazy. You really used the rock band mic? I've never
I
met someone
I
else
did.
that has used. That's
Hell
so
yeah, man.
funny.
I had to figure out how to like hook it up to my computer, I think, if I remember right, because it wasn't like just a USB microphone, if I remember correctly, and you had to like do some kind of adapter type shit. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, bro, it was funny, but that same roots for sure.
that's crazy.
And that's one of my biggest regrets too, is not, you know, putting myself out there sooner. Um, to give you a little bit of my backstory, I grew up in like the Christian school system, so that was also what kind of prevented me from
Oh yeah,
putting my
for
shit out
sure.
there. Yeah. So I wasn't technically allowed to to continue going to that school. And I was a big basketball player, football player, and that's really was my main focus in school. So I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do anything to get in trouble, focus on sports, you know, move on from there. But I'm a short white dude, so sports didn't pan out for me. So I you know,
Yeah.
took it from there in high school, and I actually ended up getting fired from that school because I worked there as a football coach and basketball coach. and also in their IT department for a while. And when I started putting my music out there, they found out and
Oh
they
yeah.
fired me from that shit, believe it or not. But anyway, moving forward, that's one of my biggest regrets. But with you, like, how would you say you would made up for that lost time, or at least tried to make up for that lost time?
Yeah, so what I realize now listening to like the first project I put out, Shift, I would always deliver with like a higher I would like raise my voice a little. I think it was mentally me trying to sound younger because I always like had this idea in my head of like Mac Miller starting out as young as possible and then having a following by the time I was older. But luckily I was able to drop that. I think like ultimately to answer your question, it was really just I've made music from the very beginning for the love of it. And as soon as you get deep into that and it just kind of like wraps you in, you don't care anymore. Cause I can be 35 and still making like a mixtape and I'm not really gonna care about the success of it. Like, of course, I think everyone else would use that as a cushion, you know, like I don't really care if I succeed or not. I would want to, I would love to, but at the end of the day, if I sit down with anything other than making a good song being my goal, it's not even going to come out right anyways. So that's like that conquers anything else, any doubt, any insecurity.
That's a great mindset to have, and it's kind of one that I also had to grow into and just find for myself as I matured, because that was always a big thing for me. And I'm older now. I'm 31, man. Like it's like, oh, you're never gonna make it. You're too old. But like that's not what drives me, and that's not what should drive any of us as an artist, because that, like you said, it will affect the music. The music will not be as quality if you're focused on your followers over what you're actually creating. So I agree with you 100%. But like I had a question on top of my head. I can't remember now, but I'll come back to that. But I know you had a heavy rock influence from your dad. You mentioned to me in some notes you sent over to me. But yeah,
Yeah.
so like, what do you still listen to rock music now?
Yeah, it's more of a phase for me, like how my sister had the rap phase. Rock is more like I'll feel it for a month and just listen to everything, and then just like I don't touch it for months. More recently, this is going to be giving a lot of extra info we haven't even touched on, but during COVID, I'm a skateboarder on top of music. Hip hop ties into skate culture. You can kind of like do the math why it even grew closer to me. I hurt my leg skating. I'm home, nothing to do. I find an old Guitar Hero controller. I end up playing, and obviously all that music is coming back to me. I'm feeling nostalgia. I start building playlists. I got an emo playlist I listen to now like multiple times a week. So more than rock, like my dad always had me on like Blue Oyster Cult, Aerosmith, like more of like the older head rock music, not like anything crazy. But then like my sister went through this emo phase, and I feel like that was embedded in my brain because as soon as I play those songs again on Guitar Hero, I'm over here like contemplating painting my nails and growing my bangs out again.
Why emo? I've always listened to some like emo type records, like Triple X. He was kind of made that type of vibe, and I was into some of his stuff. But why
Yeah, for
emo
sure.
music for you?
Okay, so I had this exact like conversation with my sister, and there's things. I think one is that the first like MGK just put out a full alternative like rockish Blink 182 style album. Like you said, Juice World had the emo vibe, Lil Peep. I think those melodies are like not touched as often by other subgenres of rap. So as soon as emo rap came out, it was like scratching that itch all over again. I didn't even know I had. And then once I heard the music, it's almost just like hear any of the like big emo bands that put it over like trap. Some people have done it on SoundCloud. It sounds like it came out this year. So I feel like it's just kind of the same vibe, and then it mixes in, like you said, the rock roots. Like there's obviously guitar, drums. I don't know. It's also just refreshing because, like, to be honest, on my Apple Music, it's like 97% rap only, and then there's like a little bit of everything else. So I listen to more rap than anything for the past like 5 years. So hearing emo again, I felt like I was like 10. I don't know. It's just a certain nostalgia, you know? And I think it came at the right time because everyone in 2020 has been a little more susceptible to getting into like things they used to do when they were younger because we've all been stuck at home. So I've noticed a lot of people playing old games and stuff. But yeah, not to get on too much of a tangent, I think it was just perfect timing, honestly.
So it's more of just kind of a nostalgic thing you're getting back into now. You haven't always listened to the emo type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was like sprinkled, right? Like I would hear rap. Like when I was a let's say 16-year-old and I was skating down the street and I had my headphones in, I'm gonna have shuffle on and I might randomly hear an emo song. I think to me, it's just like a perfect blend of that playfulness and like the I don't know, man, the melodies are just otherworldly to me in emo music. I think it's like I wish I could give you an exact answer that's in my head, but it's something about emo music is just it for me. It's weird.
It is weird, and that's kind of why I'm asking you because I've never really I've never sat down with somebody that's really into emo music like that. So, like, I know a lot of people say it's not good for the culture. It's kind of, it glorifies drugs and even like suicide and all that type of stuff. I don't look at it that way, so I'm not coming at you from that perspective. However,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
what would you say to somebody that said has that viewpoint that thinks emo music is not good for our youth or anyone in general?
Yeah, it's a good point, but the problem is so much of what the youth is exposed to already has the same concepts. Like compared to even okay, so emo music peaked in like 2006. Social media was not around. Now, why like there's way more people who are going through mental struggles. Drug abuse is just as real, if not more commonly discussed. So I think even like maybe if I was to listen to it in 2006, I would understand the weird looks. But nowadays, it's like there's so much more to music than even just what someone's talking about. Because if in that same breath, right, people talk about rap music like, well, they're just talking about guns, drugs, all that. It's like kind of the same argument, you know? Like I totally get where they're coming from because there are rap songs that's all they're talking about. There's also emo songs that are so dark. I don't even put those on my playlist, but I like to me, you got to overlook any of that for art in the first place because half of the cool thing about art is what that person might be going through when they made it. And as long as it's not like they're talking about it just because they know it's trendy and they're trying to get the looks, like if that's really what's going on, then I don't think you can argue with it. Like the Used is one of the bands that I really liked, and the lead singer at the time was going through crazy like drug problems. So to me, it's just interesting to get a perspective into that person's mind and hear like out of all music that could have came out, that's what you came up with. Like that's crazy to me.
That is an interesting way to look at it, and that's kind of how I look at it too. It's art. It's art. Art is meant to be,
Yeah.
controversial at times, and it's paintings and shit are like that. It's not just in music. It's every type of art, but it's like I don't know. Like some people just don't know where to draw the line. I guess, and I think people take music way too seriously. Like we're
Yeah, yeah,
artists
for
for a
sure.
reason. We're not politicians. We're not out here trying to like be your 5-year old's next superhero or anything like that. It's we're in this genre for a reason. It's not supposed to be raising your children, but I don't know. That's how I look at it.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
like, where do you draw the line? Because you even said that there's some emo music that you would never put on a playlist. Where's the line for you?
Well, so in terms of my personal listening, I don't have a line. Like I'll listen to whatever. Uh, but if I'm like, I think I said that for the playlist more so because I put a playlist together with the intent of sharing it and trying to put people on. And I know that not everyone is going to view the same thing as me. Like I can listen to a very dark lyric and just try and I don't focus on that. I'm more so thinking like, okay, why would they have felt that appropriate here? But for other people, they might hear the word, it's almost like it goes off in their head like, nope, that's bad for me. But yeah, I don't really have a line. Like think about the fact that people thought WAP or whatever by Cardi B and them was so bad. There's this huge uproar. There were rap songs in the 90s coming out way more vulgar than that. Like they didn't top the charts. Maybe that's what their concern is. But man, I mean, art is art to me. Like people, photographers will consider nudity certain art. To me, I don't maybe understand that, but it's like, hey, if that's how you want to express yourself, that's on you.
Hey, nudity is art for sure. but but
Hey, I'm
hey,
just saying, like anything could be art.
no, I'm just messing with you. But yeah, I agree. It's something just for people to talk about, man. People just love running their fucking mouth and about whatever it is that's
Yeah,
popular at that
straight up.
time. Like whatever. I just gotta ignore it. Gotta ignore it. That's what I try to do. But what about instrumental wise or
Yeah.
instrumentation wise? Are you an actual musician? Whatever that might mean to everybody, or is rap just your thing?
So like piano keyboard just kind of came from making beats for so long. You realize like you can either only use samples and loops or you're going to have to learn chord progressions. So I wouldn't say I'm like a very good pianist or anything, but I can definitely sit down in a room and like play chords and people will think it's decent or it sounds pleasant, you know. I used to play a lot of guitar when I was younger, and then as I got older, I don't know, I grew out of it. You can find plugins that sound like real guitars nowadays. Why not just do that? But I love the guitar. I appreciate it. I wish I didn't give it up. But yeah, as far as instruments, that's really the only thing I touch is keyboards.
Is it strictly in a beat sense, or have you actually dabbled in, playing full on records? As a,
Yeah, yeah. So senior year and junior year of high school, I was in a little band with my boys. I wouldn't even know. I think it was like indie music, really. But I just played keys, and that was more so just a way for me to practice keys. And so, yeah, I played like whole riffs for the whole song, and that was cool. We went on a little talent show and all that fun stuff. But like nowadays, I will sometimes just use the piano as kind of like therapy, like rap used to be when I was younger. I'll just play, and like sometimes I'll end up recording a whole thing and have like a 2 minute long randomly structured piano ballad for no reason because I just enjoy it.
I gotta ask you what your band name was.
Dude, I didn't come up with it. It was Amor, which is like love in all those
Okay,
different
yeah,
languages. So not too crazy. It wasn't like,
all
I think
right.
that's a respectable name for some teenagers making a little indie band.
I respect that. I respect that. You didn't take the route of going online with those. What are they, like random band name generators they have now? Just like
Yeah.
so random.
Yeah, like the one from Parks and Rec, Mouse Rat or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I love that show. I love that show.
Yeah,
That's a great
top
show.
10. That's like
Uh,
one of the few shows I've actually watched all the way through. Like I love that show so much.
yeah. Well, who's your favorite character in that show? Or if you let me rephrase that question. If you were a character in that show, which one would you be?
My answer didn't change from the first question to that form. Andy, easily. He was just, dude, like, why would you not want to be the airhead that's oblivious and you're in your own world and always having a good time? Like, he's the one character that doesn't really go through a super rough time. Like in the beginning, if you remember when the show started, he was going through a pretty rough time, but mentally he was just like, whatever. He was just cruising. Like, why not be Andy? Andy's funny.
That's true. That's true. I don't, honestly, I've never thought about that for myself. I don't know if I could compare myself to anyone in that show, really, but I have to go back and watch it to be honest. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but it was phenomenal. But
Yeah.
gotta love Andy though. And but you record and mix like and master and do everything yourself, right? Or do you actually have like a team behind you doing the post production?
So I have like a couple of homies for that do everything. I do everything myself first, and then if I don't like how it comes out, I'll probably outsource the mastering. Or in some cases, if I try to outsource the mastering and it doesn't work, then I'll just let them mix it. But like I'm as reluctant as possible to let other people do it, just because even if they're very experienced, the product will almost always be at least slightly different from what I would have wanted with my ear, because mixing is all still, even though it is objective in some ways, it's going to come down to their ear. So like if I wanted this certain delay on it and now I'm like, I don't like the way this sounds, and I send it to my friend, he might not use that same delay, and otherwise it's going to sound perfect, but I'm like, it's missing the one thing I was trying to accomplish. So yeah, I try and do everything. Focus was originally all mixed and mastered by me, and then I was realizing it just wasn't like where it needed to be, so I had a friend of mine mix it and master it, and it came out way better. So
What do you think about the I don't know what to call them, but like the auto mastering types of programs they have now, like Lander is one of them.
yeah.
What is your viewpoint on those? Because I've heard mixed things. If I'm speaking honestly, I use Lander myself to master everything I ever put out, and I love it. I think it's a great tool. But I've also heard artists that have used it hated it. Have you ever tried it?
Yeah. Well, I haven't tried it. So I understand a few things about it, and I'll give you an answer, correct me where I'm wrong. I would say, right, like if you're going for the correct, like the book way of doing it, you want a clean mix. You're not trying to do anything way off, like crazy artistic with your mix. I'm sure it does what you want. Cause like I use Nectar for mixing, and that has like an auto mix feature where you just turn it on and it mixes your voice and then you tweak it from there. So
Right.
I would imagine if it does mastering in a way similar to that, it probably is going to work great. Like, but for a song like on my project, Shower Thoughts, where I did some weird phasing with the vocals, is it capable of doing stuff like that? Because I wouldn't know. I would expect it to just do like a clear cut, ready for the radio type mix. That's my impression of it.
That is pretty much what it does. You know what I mean? Because and I never really when it comes to the fading or anything like that, I always do that in the actual mix itself. I never really venture into the mastering. To be honest, I don't know a whole lot about mastering, and that's probably why I took that route. But it is basic there, but they're adding features as they go on. So when I first started using it, and that was probably about like 2 years ago now, it was very simple. There was like a low, a medium, and a high version of the basic mix they would use for the record, and really just seemed to be uh, volume levels that would change, to be honest. But
Right,
now
right.
there's some more features they've added where you can tweak some stuff on how you want it to sound. And it's definitely more of a functional tool, I think, for more serious artists now than it used to be. Um, but that's my take on it. But I mean, without you ever using it, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, is it like an algorithm or is it someone like mastering
Yeah.
it?
So yeah, it is an algorithm. What is what they use. And from what I've read into it, because I did kind of try to do at least whatever research I could on it. Um,
Right.
they use algorithms, but it depends on certain sounds you have in your mix on what algorithm they'll use and like all this type of
Okay.
crazy shit. I don't know exactly how it works, but that's the basis of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But anybody who uses Lander that's listening, reach out to me and let me know what you think of it and how to best use it. Because it's been something I've wanted to talk to somebody about for a while. But what about, because I know you use, I think you just mentioned you use Arcade, right? Is that what you said before?
Yeah, so I didn't mention it right now, but I covered it in the notes as well,
Okay.
just like random, because I
Yeah.
figured that is like a crazy thing to me. I could talk about that all day, where they just have like automatically generated samples that you can change the key of, the pitch of, the speed. That's so cool to me because I can't tell you how many times I've been even listening to some songs I've released on Focus. If I would have just added one more little melody, it would have taken it to a whole nother level. So I had a friend come over who basically convinced me to get it. We were working on a song, I wasn't really feeling it, and then I added one sound from that, put it in the right key, and I was like, wow, it just changed the whole thing to me. So I feel like that plugin is nuts. And like for are you familiar with the little point where people were making beats and they were like, man, if you're using loops, you're cheating. And now it's just like you might as well use loops because they sound better than half the stuff you spend hours on anyways, unless you're like a master musician.
I think I have heard many producers, artists, whoever say that about loops. But to me, I think it's stupid. Like, why would you not take an easier route and then you can use that time that you have saved to focus on other parts of your art? Because like that's what music is. It's with technology, and as technology grows, we're always getting better equipment, better mics, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
better DAWs, better speakers, better headphones, all this type of stuff. We're improving on that and we're buying into getting those products. Why are we not accepting it in the mixing form or in the creating your beats form or whatever it might be? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Facts. Yeah, I agree. Cause I mean, like, it's just anytime there's something new, cause you look back when people first started sampling and then they're like, you're not even playing the instruments, you're just cutting someone else's audio. So now it's like, we're really just doing the same thing. You went from sampling to looping, and now you have apps that just have infinite loop packs that you can tweak all day. I feel like if anything, that increases productivity. Cause I remember, I think it was Just Blaze. Someone tweeted it like a couple years ago. If you don't know how to make your own drums, like, take a sample and turn it into a kick or a snare or a hi-hat, then you're not a producer. And I remember like I was younger and I let that be something that affected how I see myself. So I stopped calling myself a producer. I was like, I'm a beat maker. I'm just a beat maker. And then like a couple years later, I learned how to do all that. And I was like, I mean, that was pretty easy. I guess I'm a producer now, whatever.
Do you buy into that? Because I've always, I mean, beat makers, producers, it's the same thing. Technically, a producer doesn't even know how to make beats or doesn't need to know how to make beats. I could
Yeah.
walk in a studio right now and say, oh, hey, I think this hi-hat sounds better here than it does there. I'm technically now a producer on that record, which
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people know. But like, why is that? Like, why do you think we have to like somehow prove to ourselves that we're, you know, the real deal over somebody else that we might not view as the real deal?
Yeah. That question could be so deep, but I'm going to play this the way like it's kind of a misconception thing, you know? So like it's almost like how from the outside looking in, when I tell someone random on the street I'm a producer, they're imagining me in my room with a MIDI keyboard, headphones, making a beat probably, or you know, something. But it's like we know on the inside of things, whether it's because we've experienced it, seen it, done it, watched it on YouTube, whatever, that a producer, like you said, could be as simple as someone in a studio telling someone what to do. I think it's just like a common knowledge sort of thing. Like think of how many things that relate to graphic design or physical art, like painting, that we don't even know. I bet you there's tons of misconceptions we've never even questioned because we're not deep into it like that.
That is true. That is true. The more you know, the more you have to argue about, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what social media is nowadays anyways, is arguing whether you do or do not know. So I'm sure there's a Twitter thread out there of what it's two guys like us, except they're arguing, no, this is a producer, no, this is a producer. And it's like honestly, they're both right. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's really what it is. You are both. There's two sides to every story, right? And sometimes both sides are correct. So
straight up.
that's that. But I gotta come back here because you mentioned that you had injured yourself, broken your femur last year. How to make 2020 worse? Well,
Yeah,
ask this guy. But
straight up, dude.
well, how did you do that? For one, let's start there.
Yeah, so let's see. 2020 was a weird year in California, even because we had the fires too, you know? So, like, it starts off, my birthday's in March. Like, it's a good year up until my mixtape's gonna come out in a couple weeks. It's my birthday. Boom, the day after, like, my birthday, everything shuts down. Dang, this sucks. Fires come in, I think, in the next couple months. So, like, when we first got quarantined, I got back into skating heavy just because it was a way to get out of the house. It's sunny. The weather in California is always decent enough to be outside. So I got like better again, at least to the sense where I have confidence now. So like me and my homie who just came back from the Marines that day, he used to skate with me when I was younger. We were like, let's go for old time's sake, skate around. We found this new developed area that has a gap like over some bark from sidewalk, bark, driveway. And I'm just like, let me just like see what I can do over it. So I ollie and kick out, just warming up. Like I could have landed it and I was stupid and kicked out. And I landed, if these are my legs, I didn't even fall. I just landed like this. And because momentum was going that way, my leg went that way and it just like cracked the bottom of my femur. It was so annoying. It wasn't even a crazy fall. I just landed standing up and I heard a pop and I was like, I know I just broke something. And I'd never broken anything before, haven't broken anything since. It was just the dumbest thing. And it put me down for 6 months from September to like February, like late January. So,
You're getting old, man. You're getting old.
dude,
Well, there's no
and
other
see,
explanation.
like, I have no problem. Like I just turned 25 literally like 2, 3 days ago, you know? So like there's people at the skate park that are way older than me doing everything backflips, like kickflip and stair set. So I'm like, I think the problem is one, my nutrition is off. Like I know my bones aren't getting what they need. I'm not as active as I should be. But yeah, age, I don't want to admit it, but I know that's part of it as well. But I feel like I could counteract it so much better if I wasn't just sitting at home, not eating well, like not drinking as much water, you know? It's all those little things.
Yeah, it's off time too, man. Like any athlete that doesn't train right, that's what I mean. I'm gonna say this. That's one of the most disgusting things to me, and like I get super freaked out when I see these like basketball players like just come down wrong, like you said, and they're just
Yeah.
leg snaps in half. Uh, I think what scarred me from that, do you remember slam ball?
Yep.
Oh, I don't know if you saw this, and I hope you didn't for your eyes' sake, but one episode of this of slam ball, this dude like came down, just landed normal, but he came down on like the padded part that's didn't obviously have the give of this trampoline. His ankle just snapped in half, and like his foot literally fell off. Like his foot was off. It was hanging by a thread of skin. And they actually zoomed into this shit on
Ah,
the show, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I didn't
yeah,
know. I
I
didn't know it
think
was
I
possible.
saw that. That was a while ago, right? Like a couple years maybe,
Oh,
or
that
even more.
was a long time ago. I was like, I don't know. I was like maybe 13 years old when I saw this, or whenever
I think
slam
that,
ball was at its peak.
yeah, I think that got reposted on the internet because that
Oh,
sounds so familiar. Like I feel like I've seen a clip of someone breaking their ankle on a trampoline. I just can't remember.
oh, that might have been it, but man, that scarred me for the rest of my life. So, and I've seen it in person back when I was coaching football. Player of mine that happened to him during a football game, and it was, oh man, my heart goes out. But was it like
Yeah.
that? Did it snap in half, or it just kind of like felt it and something broke?
Yeah, so it was a non-misplaced fracture. I didn't need a surgery. And honestly, I thought I was being a baby because like I wanted to go back out there a month later. But they were like, just let it heal, eat your leafy greens, all that stuff. And the weird thing is now, like I went back and they told me I was good, but I still have knee pain. But I know everyone says when you break something like that, you're gonna expect to have pain for the rest of your life. I like directly asked the guy, like, do you think I'm gonna have to deal with this pain forever? He was like, dude, the crack wasn't even like as wide as the line in your finger. It was so small. So you shouldn't have any pain. But yet here I am still having pain. So I don't know. But yeah, it was one of those things where, like you said, if I was out there more, I don't think you realize like I spent probably my whole high school skating, you know, and every time you fall, you position yourself in a way that it hurts the least. And like time off of it, you kind of forget where to put things. So yeah, I think that was the only problem is now when I was younger, I probably would have kicked out and tried to like roll, you know, and get out of the way. But instead, I just stood, and that was the biggest mistake possible.
Like, how you said that's the first time you ever broken anything. How is that possible? If you, I've never talked to a skater before in my life that said they had never broken anything until that, that far along.
Yeah, I think so. It depends on how long you skate, because you know, and it also depends on who you're around. Like I started at the same time as all my friends, so we were around similar skill level. So when one of us tried something, we would all try it. So it was like it's not like we were way out of our comfort zone, which is normally when you get hurt. But that it was like I was just not up to par where I thought I was, or maybe skill wise I could have done that, but I just didn't have the same like sense I did when I was younger. But yeah, I think when I was in high school, it was more of like if he's going to learn board slides down a rail today, I'm going to learn it. I know how to do this. I board slide rails on the ground all the time, but I would never just huck stuff. I think my problem is I didn't want to admit that I am a little older and I wanted to huck it. And that's where it went wrong. Because people who are younger, usually when you watch like Scarred, they usually got hurt because they were trying something way out of their comfort zone. Like I know you've seen or heard of the Scarred where the guy like cut his privates on a handrail. He
Yep.
was like board slide. Everyone knows that one. Like he was probably just not as familiar or maybe skating something sketchy because that's a whole nother factor. Like I grew up skating a local skate park that got built when I was in like 10th grade. So I had a nice, safe, smooth surface area. It's not like I was skating a rail with rough ground, but yeah, it's just one of those things, all the wrong factors at the right time came together.
Just like anything else, you can be smart doing it. I guess. And one thing is that muscle memory, man. If you don't do it for a while, like you said, you tried something, you went off, you did something you might not normally have did if you were actually in practice. But it's
Yeah.
it's kind of wild. But like, what did you do to take up your time as artists? I know that's. I mean, you probably made a lot of music. I'm guessing.
Dude, I wish I could say I did. I had never been injured, so I didn't know. Everyone knows it messes with your mental, but I had just never been in a spot where I couldn't walk. Because, like, to give you some insight on me, I was born with a club foot, so I had a lot of surgery, messed up leg when I was young. You know, are
what
you familiar with what that
what
is? Where
what
your
is what does that mean?
I don't know how to do this without actually showing you my leg, but like my legs are forward and your foot's like sideways. If you've ever seen people who have that like kind of limp where their foot is like not straight,
Okay.
that's what mine was. So they had to basically like break my ankle off, reattach it with screws, and like I was in a boot till I was like a year and a half. But I never experienced it because I was too young to remember. So this I'm like 20, I was 24 at the time, can't walk, can't do all the things I like to do. It messed with my head. I didn't make like a single song. I think I made like probably two. Infinite was one of them, which is my later single that I'm proud of. I think it came out great. But yeah, like I
It
didn't
is
really record anything.
great record. Great record.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like it's funny because I've been struggling recently with recording, but when I listened to that, I was like perfectly in the pocket. But yeah, I didn't make as much music. I made a lot of beats, which is cool. That's always kind of a thing that happens when I put a project out. I won't record for a while. I'll just make beats on beats on beats on beats and then go back to recording again. I got back into freestyling. Like I said earlier, I played a lot of Guitar Hero. I have like fingerboard tech deck type things. Like I just okay, actually, this is the most direct answer that's going to be good. So I craved skateboarding so bad that I got like every kind of game you can get on your computer, every console, every phone game. I got this. I literally have like this is a marble ledge for the fingerboards. Like I went all out. I was trying to itch, like scratch that itch any way possible, you know? So yeah, that's what I did when I couldn't skate is try to skate every other way I could.
I was big into those tech decks, man. When I was younger, man. That was the shit. I always thought that was the coolest thing. Those little mini parks and stuff. That I wasn't a skater myself. I got into like rollerblading a little bit, but that was just a brief moment in my life when Janko jeans were a big old thing. I
Yeah,
don't know if you remember those. Yeah,
yeah.
but you know, I was a fingerboarder, man. I was into that shit. But like, I didn't even know that was still around. To be honest, did you actually just purchase that stuff?
So you want to know what's funny? This was $100. First of all,
What?
it's the same wood they make real skateboards with. It's Canadian maple. It's got like four plies. The wheels have real bearings. The trucks have real bushings. This is like foam grip tape. It's like the same material that they make wetsuits out of. And then like this is I bought this deck for like $30. Like don't even ask. I don't know. I was down. I was hurt. I wouldn't buy these things now. But yeah, like it's a real thing. You can look up fingerboarding. There's like a whole subculture. They have parks. I have like ramps, rails. I have friends of mine who have full skate parks in their garages. But yeah, it's just like I think, especially in 2020, that's what I was saying earlier. I think a lot of people got into those little hobbies because it's like we're all locked up. We got to find something to do. So even if I didn't hurt my leg, I probably still would have ended up messing with these things.
That is wild to me that that's
Dude, I
still a
know.
thing and that big. Wow. So I guess anything. I mean, well, hey, they got cornhole championships on ESPN now. So I mean, what's stopping them from putting fingerboarding in the Olympics, right? Let's do it.
Hey, it takes a lot of precision. You got to give them credit. There's people that have been doing it. Like there's this one guy who's actually been sponsored for like 15 years. He puts videos out still, and this guy is just so good. I'm like, I don't even know why you would want to be that good at it because it's just a fingerboard, but that's what he wants to do.
Hey, man, to each his own. Everybody's got their own thing.
Exactly.
Or- That's wild to me, but everybody's got their own thing.
Yeah.
Um, well, I feel like I
I
just had
bet you
another
didn't think
question
we were
too.
going to be talking about this stuff
I
right
did.
now, like fingerboards.
No, you know, fingerboarding is not something that I imagine to be, you know, bringing back up in my 30s. But hey, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. It's nostalgia for me, so I'm down. I'm down.
Right.
I might actually just go buy a fingerboard after this and start ramping back up.
Yep. Don't buy $100 one, ease
No, no,
into it.
no, no, no,
But
no. I wouldn't do that. Never, never. Um, well, we're approaching an hour here, so which is kind of crazy. I just looked up at the clock. It's already 7:30. But anything else that you did, you know, during your downtime that you know kept you going? I know that's how, so I want to bring this up before we end. Like because you've kind of mentioned, you know, you got into like the emo music a little bit, or you know, back now you're getting back into it. And a lot of things that you kind of mentioned, you know, revolve around like the whole mental health aspect of what we've all been going through in this weird, you know, world we're living in right now. So like, is there anything specifically that you do that kind of helps you keep out those types of thoughts and things like that? And I'm asking you personally because, you know, sometimes I go through some stuff and I always look for new ways to, you know, get through anything that might be challenging.
yeah, so I wish I had like a concrete answer. For me, it also depends on personality type. So overthinker, first of all. Overthink everything. It could be a good thing and a bad thing, obviously. For me, reading and watching videos like that talk about mental health, as cliche as that sounds, I don't think there's a better way to fix mental health for me, because I think a lot of times you have the answer, you just don't have the words to be able to digest it, you know? And then someone else comes out with a perfectly simple sentence that puts together how you feel and how they fixed it. And you're just like, wow, that's all I needed to hear. So I don't know. Usually I just start, as silly as it sounds, I just start researching, like looking stuff up. I've read a bunch of books on, like, one, you know, you have metaphysics, which is like manifesting things, things like that, or just overall mental health. Like the number one thing that helps me get through anything is the idea that, like, you can either try and control life, or you can just let life control, and then you just kind of ride. And that's how I do it. Is, again, it's all cliche sounding, but like, if you, the main thing where stress comes from, doubt, negativity, sadness, is when you want to control something or you want a different result and you can't get it. So it just comes down to being like, this is out of my hands. And I know it's not that simple, because we've all been there where you know it's out of your hands and you still stress over it. But I think it's just reiterating those things. And then obviously you got to have your coping mechanisms, whether that's making music or something. You got to have things to stay busy, which I think is why, and you almost pointed it out, I think you're the bigger thing of mental health as well. I think that's why I clung to nostalgia so much. And maybe that's why emo music hit me even harder, because I was looking at a time when I was younger and didn't care as much, didn't have stress. All these things, the fingerboards, the Guitar Hero, all that really does encompass like a part of my life where I wasn't feeling any of it. So I think that's another thing in 2020. People were going back to old habits, because 2020 is the craziest, most messed up year ever. Let's just mentally go back to when it wasn't like this. What an easier solution, you know? That's at least what I thought was happening. Because if you look too, I'm not the only one. All those old emo bands have tours announced now. Like all of them are reuniting. So I'm not the only one who went through that and was like, dude, might as well go back to it.
I can agree. I didn't
That was
really
a lot of
think.
info.
No,
Sorry, that
no,
was
no,
just,
no.
but yeah.
No, it's all good. I just thinking back through, you know, what you just said, I didn't really ever look at it that way, but it makes a lot of sense. And it you know, I can agree with you now that I think that that's probably is why a lot of people are going back to old things. I think it's natural to kind of revert back anyway, but we were definitely forced into doing so, you know, this past
Yeah.
year. And yeah, I mean, even subconsciously now thinking back to some stuff that I started doing or got back into, like I was a big professional wrestling fan when I was little, so, and I just recently started picking that up and watching that again, and just kind of just going back to old things. Yeah, very interesting. You're a smart man. You're a smart man. I think you just made me realize something.
Hey, dude, that's the best thing. If a conversation like this happens and we feel like we came away with something, then that was all we needed. You know, everything else was cool. Obviously, I enjoyed the whole combo, but yeah, that's the meat and potatoes. I could have a deep talk all day long, which is why I made sure to give you a bunch of other stuff to talk about, because I didn't want this to just be like a hella introspective conversation the whole
Right.
time.
No, of course, and that's, you know, I appreciate that. Like I said, hey, any other artists that I have scheduled, send me some shit, man. Kay Hella, he's the only one that has done it so far, and I enjoyed this conversation. I had plenty to go to, so I appreciate it. But
Yeah, and I do want to say one thing too. I thought it was funny. I thought I was hella late. I thought I was like, dude, this guy's gonna think I'm unprofessional. It was like almost noon this morning, and I'm like, damn, this is in like 3 hours. I haven't sent anything yet. I thought I was coming in super late. So the fact that no one else does it, it took me like 10 minutes, you know. But I don't know. Maybe I have a better understanding of like those kind of topics than I can see why it would be hard, but it seemed kind of natural to me.
well, a lot of people aren't deep, man, and that's the thing. Like a lot of people are very surface level, and it's hard to talk about stuff that really matters, like that, like mental health or just anything. Just talking about yourself personally. I think a lot of people view talking about things that you enjoy as being like selfish, but
Mm,
that's not the case. As long as
yeah.
you invite whoever you're talking to into your conversation, that
Yep.
it'll be just fine. But yeah, man, I do appreciate it. Um, I'm gonna let you take it out and say anything you want to do. If you have anything coming up, tell everybody where they can find you and all that good stuff, and we'll take it out of here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for having me, dude. This was a great conversation. Again, K Hella at K Hella IG for Instagram, at K Hella TW for Twitter. I don't know all the other links, but you'll find them on those pages. As far as upcoming stuff, I'm trying to put like singles out every month until I can roll a project out. I'm probably gonna dump like a little throwaway mixtape on SoundCloud soon, just because I have a lot of stuff that's probably arguably as good or better, but for certain reasons I couldn't put it out or whatever, and I think I'll just end up dumping it. But yeah, right now I'm just in the point where I'm going to be working. So if you stay tuned and follow me, I'll certainly have some more content out probably by the end of the year. I'm looking for a project, but if not, we're getting ready for 2022 already. That's all I can say.
I love to hear it. Love to hear it. We didn't really even get much into the tournament. I got lost in our conversation, but good luck in the tournament. Number 3 seed. Just so you know, and everybody else listening knows, there is a $200 prize. I know it's not that much, but I'm a broke guy, so that's all I got.
Yeah, hey, that's very generous, very generous. And I'm coming for the 200. I'm just saying, like, that's mine. I already think it's mine, but I'm not going to count my eggs before they hatch. So,
hey, hey, I can't have any favorites, so I'm not gonna say anything. But
don't say anything. It's
I
all
won't.
good.
I will not.
We
I
know.
will not. But again, I appreciate you coming on, man, taking the time. I'd love to do it again next season. I hope you have more music for next season in season 3. We're only growing from here, for sure, for sure. But
Absolutely. And I look forward to your content as well, whether it's your music or podcast. Every time something pops up on my feed, I'm showing it love. Maybe I suck at social media. I'm not going to even go there because we're wrapping it up, but I will try my best to support you in every way I can, my man.
I appreciate that. And likewise, anything you got coming out, send my way, and I'll do whatever I can to get it in front of as many people as possible. But again, thank you for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And I hope you join us next time. Tournament starts on Friday. Well, tomorrow, if you're listening to this when this releases, because this is Wednesday, comes out Thursday, Friday, tournament starts. I'm gonna stop rambling. Peace out, everybody.
All right, take care.